Yeah, Hugo's cracks me up. He's a funny lad. He said we just had, caught up before the game, and he said he'd come on and score, and then give me a shirt and bugger off, which is exactly what he's done. So yeah, fair play to him. I think we sold him to PSG for 50 million, so we knew he'd got a bit about him, and he'd scored a lot of goals for us as well. And he's a constant threat, and he's incredibly annoying to play against. So yeah, fair play to him.
Probably a lot of Saints fans out there who feel that's the most positive performance your team has put in this season. Do you feel equally as encouraged?
Yeah, I think we're going in the right direction, and tonight was progress on what we've done in previous weeks. It's just a shame, I'm going to repeat myself, but we've made really sort of basic and unavoidable mistakes, which kind of sort of shadows a lot of the good things that we had done in that first half. Because I thought, our organisation, our threat, the fact that we've kind of stood up and made ourselves sort of accountable and showed a bit of personality was really, really encouraging. And then we've had a massive chance, hit the crossbar, somehow not put the ball in the back of the net. And then, I don't know what it was, 30, 40 seconds later, they've gone up the other end, and we've kind of put it on a plate for them. And I think that kind of sums up our season so far. There were a lot of good bits in moments, but we kind of seem to keep shooting ourselves in our own foot, which is annoying. But I'm happy with a lot of players. I'm happy with the collective. I'm happy with the way we've kind of shown a bit more who we are and what we're about. But there's no denying that we need to urgently sort of eradicate and rub out those mistakes that we are making, because a lot of that was positive and good. But again, you're sitting here saying that and you've lost 2-1.
That 45 seconds is what it is, but I suppose in a different game maybe the response to it isn't as good as it is. In a different season, Saints lose that game 2-3 goals, but that isn't what happened, and that's what's positive.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, like I said, we've kind of stuck together and run for each other and done a lot of good things. I think our shape in and out of possession was quite interesting. I think a lot of the times we managed to play around their press and then through. We've created a few really interesting situations, and it's just not quite clicking, and we're getting there. It's taking a bit of time, and it's taking a bit of frustration also, but we are getting there, and at some point it will click, and it will we will move through the gears. But I guess that's just where we're at for the moment. But I think we wanted players to have a reaction to the way we lost on Saturday, and we've had that in a lot of players. So that's a really good thing, and it gives us a lot of interesting options for the league on Saturday.
I think you touched on it at the weekend, but you're also playing against a different defence today, one that's a bit higher up. There's some of that space that a lot of your players like to exploit behind them. Can you make a game against a low block and someone who's sitting there inviting pressure look like that?
Well, I think that's the hardest thing to do in football. I think playing against a low block is incredibly difficult, and you've got to be very tidy. You've got to be clinical when you do get the small opportunities that come your way. But maybe there is a way of inviting the opposition out a bit more and giving them a bit more of the ball, and us staying in a bit more of a block, because I think our possession stats are stupid since the start of the season. But that's just where we're at. I think we're trying to work it all out. I think I said it before the game to the TV. We've had sort of 3 different squads. We've had a squad to start pre-season. We've had a squad to start the league, and then we've had a squad to pick up after the international break and after the transfer window. And that takes a bit of time. I think it takes a bit of training and a bit of people starting to know each other and understand where everyone's going. But I think we've laid a lot of positive things down today that we need to build on. But we also need to stop conceding stupid goals. So yeah.
Let's get a word on Elias, Leo Senza and Caspiano as well. Very good stuff.
Yeah, all 3 of them were really interesting. I think Ellie hasn't played a game for a very long time, and that's why we've been sort of patient with him and not kind of dropped him in there. But he's done incredibly well. Leo was, showed his personality. He can get on the ball. He can run at people. But again, those players hadn't, that front three hadn't played together yet this season. And Kasper's, I thought he was incredibly good at the weekend, and he's put in another really solid performance. I just hope he's all right, sort of moving forward, because he's got a really nasty sort of ankle right at this moment in time. But there are positives. We need to look at those and keep building on those. But we need to also be honest and say that we can't keep saying that.
You talked about first contacts in the box at the weekend, and you've got someone like Nathan Wood today who does exactly that. Has he given you something to think about for the weekend? Yeah,
well, he's brilliant. I think Woody probably didn't deserve to come out of the team when he did, when we went to a back four. And I thought he was incredibly good. I thought he was stable. I thought he was brave on the ball as well when he did step in and when he did slap it out wide. And that's what we wanted. We wanted people to stand up. We wanted people to take a stake at being in the team at, this Saturday. And Woody's certainly done that.
You mentioned the sort of forward back and three back then. You said before this game that it's obviously a one-off, it's a unique tactical game against.
It wasn't too bad, was it?
Yeah. Can you take this into the weekend? Can you go into the weekend with the same shape, the same team?
Yeah, we also have to take the opposition into consideration because they're playing that sort of 5-2-3 as well. So it's just how we, best animate it to cause them the same problems that we did, Liverpool tonight. But we'll work it out.
Well, just about Damien now, since he came on, a couple of minutes into the second half, struggled maybe to get himself into the game. How do you sort of help him impose himself a little bit more in the position he comes on?
By we need to keep working with him. We need to keep encouraging him, keep showing him what the space looks like and how we can get into there. We almost sort of have to encourage him to pick a fight, go and pick a fight with someone, and make it difficult, and then get into the game that way. But like I said, it's work in progress. Not all transfers are going to come in and hit the ground running and just click and understand the culture, the league, the oppositions, and our team, itself. So yeah, he started on Saturday. He played 60, 65, whatever it was. He's come on tonight and played a good chunk of the second half, and we just need to keep working with him and helping him on that sort of journey into the team.
I think you got Ross Stewart the other one, obviously the other strikers who've got a bit of height, but they do seem quite different. Sort of, what is it that you like about Damien bringing him on first and then Ross Stewart a little bit later on?
I think we've got 4 really good strikers, and it's just they're all completely different. They've all got completely different profiles. So you sort of take into account the opposition, the scenario of the game, where we're at as a team as well. And Roscoe's probably the only one, by the cup game in Norwich that hasn't had that, sort of big chance yet. But again, we need to, that will come at some point because football is the way it is. And it's a really fine balance that you need to find with those strikers, but also all the players around them. And that's what we're working on.
Oh well, speaking of strikers, Hugo from your time together at Reims. I saw you having a chat with him before the game. Did he tell you he was going to score, and how impressed have you been with his start to life in English football?
Yeah, Hugo's cracks me up. He's a funny lad. He said we just caught up before the game, and he said he'd come on and score, and then give me a shirt and bugger off, which is exactly what he's done. So yeah, fair play to him. I think we sold him to PSG for 50 million, so we knew he'd got a bit about him, and he'd scored a lot of goals for us as well. And he's a constant threat, and he's incredibly annoying to play against. So yeah, fair play to him.